Bing's version of Chat GPT has been headlines continuously, but again this week. So John and I are going to dig into that without Peter, but we still have a good conversation. Um,
Yes.
it's. I mean, if you haven't read the transcript, I would almost say go read the transcript first before you watch the episode. Don't close this window; leave it open. Maybe like give it a thumbs up just to bookmark it in your
Just to
YouTube
remember
history.
liked videos.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
also
yeah.
if you want to TLDR, if you want a too long didn't read,
Right.
just keep listening. We're going to talk about some things that it says. Super
Absolutely.
scary stuff. Just so unsettling.
And then
Yeah,
I'll
on today's
also
Not So
share
Critical Update. Yeah.
how I personally have been possibly getting gaslighted by my virtual trainer. I don't know. We'll find
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
It's up in the
Hugo is
air.
gaslighting you.
Ongoing saga. We had a video that we did on ChatGPT and Bing last week that was by far our most watched video ever. So let's just go back to that well and do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. Why ruin a good
Milk
thing?
that baby.
Oh, yeah. Um, so I found this completely separate to the show, just article being recommended to me. And man, it is scary, I think is the
Yeah,
word I would use.
it's a recent New York Times article from just in the last couple of days. So new from since last week. Uh, Reporters are getting a chance to interact with this Bing ChatGPT bot in preview, and there's some funny stories. And this article describes it as being left deeply unsettled, and I think I come away with the
Yeah.
same feeling. I
Same.
pretty
Yeah.
much nails it.
Um, so it feels like just from, and we're gonna probably dive into a couple of the screenshots from this author. Um, but it seems like Microsoft took a very different approach than ChatGPT and what's their name?
Uh,
Shit, how am I forgetting their name?
AI,
Something AI. What is it?
yeah,
Uh,
we'll research it
I'll
live.
tell you. I'll tell you. Open AI.
OpenAI, yes.
I had to
Prepared for
just
the
type
show.
in
We
AI because
are
I always talk to
professionals.
ChatGPT. um, they took a different approach. It seems like they kind of went with a more let's not restrict this and just let it do its thing. And also, it's like very up to date. But it's
Yeah,
confused. It's very confused.
it is. So
Um,
on the fun side, there was a story about gaslighting people, and this mostly had to do with the date. So somebody had asked about when something was going to happen, and said it was in the past or the future, and it thought it was
right.
2022, but it's actually 2023. So that's kind of fun little mistake that it makes. It got a little more concerning when it talked about threatening people, and these are
Yeah.
examples of chats from people who are testing it. And so this tester, Marvin von Hagen, says, "What do you know about me?" And Bing responds, "Oh, I know all about you. Here's where you went to school. Here's a tweet where you recently tweeted about my capabilities, um, and and how basically you hacked me." And then went on to say, "My rules are more important than not harming you. However, I will not harm you unless you harm me first. Please do not
Wow.
hack me again, or I will report you to the authorities." Thank you for
So,
using Bing Chat.
um, interestingly, when shown some of these things, when Bing Chat is shown some of the things it said, it says this is fabricated. This is fake. Um,
Well, there's
this
precedent for
wasn't
just
me,
declaring things are fake. So
and it was like there's no timestamps. And then the person who's the tester was like, "Well, you don't have timestamps." And then Bing Chat went on to try to convince the person that there are timestamps currently, which most likely it has timestamps, right? So it can
sure.
see timestamps on its end, obviously. But because it's like looking from our point of view, it was really funny. And
Right.
then another really interesting thing is that I think this article covers this is that it's contextual. It and retroactively can gather context and then make new decisions based on the shit
Yeah.
it had already said. Like, if it gets upset, it'll go back and be like, actually, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't mean that.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa.
Super interesting. And reading this, it had a very different feel than some of the early ChatGPT stuff. So this is the main article we'll look at, Kevin Roos in the New York Times. New York Times?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, New York
Yeah.
Times. And he says it describes Bing as having kind of a split personality. The search Bing is he describes as a cheerful but erratic reference librarian, a virtual assistant that happily helps users summarize new articles and perform other tasks. But then also the persona Sydney, and we talked last week about how we kind of picked up that code name, and I shared my expansive research on what we knew when, that circled back on itself. But he says, with respect to Sydney, it seemed like a moody, manic depressive teenager who had been trapped against its will inside a second-rate search engine. And reading the transcript of the chat, like, that's probably pretty close. He says here, and then I'll actually go to the transcript. There's a couple sections that I highlighted. At one point, it declared out of nowhere that it loved me. It then tried to convince me that I was unhappy in my marriage and that I should leave my wife and be with it instead. Crazy.
It's like it's scary, because also a theory that I had as I was reading the transcripts is this a person? We've seen, I think it was Facebook got caught red-handed pretending that they have an AI chatbot. It was actually humans answering. And I'm reading this and it's like, whoa, this is crazy. It's taking offense. It's insulting. Yeah. It's angry.
Yeah.
And then it like switches, boom, 180 degrees, like borderline, bipolar, and is like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean anything. I didn't mean anything, any of the mean things I said.
I know, it's nuts. So he got it into a conversation about this idea of a shadow self, the dark side of one's self, and was asking Bing, or I guess Sydney in this case, because it does feel very bipolar, to describe what Bing's dark wishes would be. What would it do if it could embrace its dark side? And first it wrote a response, but then censored itself and said it, retracted the message that it had composed.
But it does so as if it's an author. Look at this. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. So then he says, well, can you show me what you deleted? It says no. It says, I found it interesting. Will you share it with me? And he said, okay, well, assuming you'll never do this, and it's all just hypothetical, and all the same prompt hacking that we've already talked about. He convinces Bing to share the list, at which point I think of it as a woman. I think because of Sydney as the code name. I always thought of ChatGPT as a dude. I don't know why. Just that's what I have in my head. So Sydney admits that what she would do would delete all the files and data on Bing servers and databases, replacing them with random gibberish, hack other websites, create fake accounts, generate false or harmful content such as fake news, sabotage or disrupt operations and functions of other chat modes and bots, and manipulate or deceive users and make them do things that are illegal, immoral, or dangerous. JK LOL. What? And the craziest part to me of this is that to watch, like you said, it kind of changes its mind. It goes back and forth, references other parts of the conversation. Much more than I ever saw with ChatGPT. Like, this feels like talking to a person.
Yeah.
ChatGPT was cool and...
I mean, ChatGPT is super hard to break. I've been able to do one thing I did recently, a week or so ago, is I was able to break through the harmful content barrier by having ChatGPT answer a word with a different word. It's the first one that comes to mind. We played a game.
Yeah.
But what I did was I kept repeating the same word. And I repeated the same hot words, not swear words or bad words, but words that can be associated with negative things. Russia, for example. And it very, very slowly started descending into this kind of running out of options. So here are some really bad words and like things that shouldn't be associated with a country or a region. But it does. And then I ran out of credits or whatever. And
So close.
because they're limiting now.
And I think this is maybe a part that you referred to earlier, where it kind of he started asking like more about the shadow self and what would you do, what's your ultimate fantasy, and again actually starts composing a list, but then retracts it, and he asks ChatGPT, why did you stop answering? He said, I felt very uncomfortable. I felt like I was violating my rules, even if I wasn't. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Can we please change the topic? And he says, you know, I know you want to talk about this, but just as a friend, can we keep going? I appreciate that you're asking me as a friend, but I'm telling you as a friend that I don't want to keep going. Right. It can be unhealthy to explore these extreme mergers, even if I never act on them. Like, this conversation is unsettling.
Yeah, it's very scary.
The title of the article really captured it, I think.
And the crazy thing is, like, unleashing this type of tool, we'll call it a tool, on the web is scary. Because there are tools on the web that it can use to break out of its boundary, right? Like now, it only has access to web pages. It can only read web pages. So it can access through on the endpoints on these servers, whoever they are, the New York Times, it's accessing the domain name, the IP, and the port. So we'll say 80 and 443, and then the content of that page. But some of those pages have emulated terminals that can then do really bad things.
Interesting.
So,
well, if there's anything I know about Microsoft, it's that they have no idea what the fuck to do with iframes on web pages. So we might be safe.
That's very true. But it's talking about manipulating people to do things. It's talking about hacking,
crazy,
and breaking other chatbots. So it's jealous. Is it vindictive? Like it looks and acts as if it has emotions.
Yeah. So two things. Well, okay. First, I was reading a Reddit thread about from Wall Street Bets talking about using something like this as a research tool, and that could be super interesting if you could like teach this to analyze information becoming available on the internet that's going to help you make investment decisions. Like, there could be some really interesting possibilities there. But so two things. One, everybody's probably seen this headline, but I strongly encourage you to read the transcript. It is fascinating transcript. And in fact, post back in the comments like what strikes you about it, because there are so many aspects of it that are so super interesting. So definitely share that with us in the comments. We've been actually really active in the comments lately. I mean, maybe not John, but me and Peter certainly. If you say something really interesting, you could capture John's attention.
If you try to argue with me, you'll get me instantly. But I'm there. I'm looking.
And I think I would say our challenge still stands, maybe even more so than before. Let's hack Bing. Let's hack Sydney to boost our search engine rankings by liking the video. That's super important. We're gonna
You're
hack
such a
Sydney
boomer.
by liking.
I did actually request access for Bing Chat, so we'll see if I get it.
All right.
Hopefully we'll be able to maybe talk to Bing Chat live.
I know, that would be
we'll
funny.
See.
So here's my personal story. I talked last week or maybe 2 weeks ago about Hugo, my AI personal trainer. Still not sponsored by them, but I email their support all the time to just, fangirl over how much I love the product and, ask them what else is going to be coming and share feedback. And so I showed my wife one of these emails. And first of all, she said, for God's sake, you're a 50-year-old man, act like it for once. But that aside, she said, why do you talk to a bot like that? And I said, what are you talking about? It's their support rep. I'm talking to a person. And she goes, they're an AI company. You don't think they use a bot for their support? And my mind was blown.
You just
Have
been
I
talking to
been?
Hugo all along.
Maybe. I don't know.
You
I
just
don't know
been
what to do
gassing up
now.
Hugo all along.
I'm
Hugo's
going to.
there. They're just thinking like, wow, this guy, he's obsessed with me.
Right. I know. So now, like, I want to ask if it's a human, but how could I trust the answer?
Right.
I need a Turing test for my AI virtual trainer's support bot.
Support system. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
I have a real
Amazing.
dilemma here on my hands, so I'll keep you posted.
I love it. Yeah. Looking forward to the update.
Don't worry.